And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. I'm thinking that you should go there. Okay. That's pretty good. Welcome back in. We are in the throes of fall. And, with fall comes great shows. I'm going somewhere with this. Just wonderful ways to enjoy your time indoors and out. And some of you might be thinking, well, he's supposed to be introducing an interview. It seems a little bit unprofessional of him. Baby, I got news for you. That's the title of the thing that I'm promoting for this comedian. Alexis Gay. How long was this? How long was this in? 1 minute, 36 seconds. So I feel like I'm good. Alexis Gay is a comedian who just recently did a spate of 2 shows. Is that a spate? She did a couple of shows over there in Los Angeles, I assume. And you know what? I hope they went well. Yes, they were in Los Angeles. Her show is called Unprofessional. She performed it at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Do you say Edinburgh? Can I let you in on a secret? I may or may not have recorded this intro about 40 minutes ago and then hit exit on Adobe Audition thinking I exported the audio. I didn't. Now I have to redo all the jokes I did before. I don't have to. The show is called Unprofessional. She's been working on it for about a year. And as I mentioned before, she was at Edinburgh Fringe Festival performing the show for roughly a month. She is a wonderful comedian. I'll give you a little backstory. Her people 7 days ago. I'm recording this intro early. Usually I record the day that I put the episode out. I'll record this early. Her people reached out to me 7 days ago. A week. Within hours, I respond. Let's talk. We have an interview set up for that Friday, her first show. And man, oh man, was it a great conversation. We talked about everything. We talked about her previous life at an unknown tech job that we did not get too far into because that's not the point. We're here to talk about Unprofessional. And what spurred the choice to move into the world of comedy? Because previously, Alexis was dipping her toe in. And then, we look at the pandemic. And she, along with a lot of people, were like, let me just go ahead and see what's up. And that's what she did. Well, with changing jobs. Not a lot of people went into comedy. Because I would refrain from telling people, hey, maybe find something else. Comedy's hard, and we talk about that. Alexis is a funny individual. I looked at her Instagram, and I was like, this is somebody I want to talk to. She makes a lot of sketches on there. She puts them out with her friend Gabe Malika. And they have an editor and a film person, Alex Moodgill. So she's got a team helping her out with that. Well, they are a team doing that. And then on the other hand, she's also doing this solo show that she's performed in different places. Seattle, LA, NYC, Boston, other places. She's been working hard on it. And she deserves all the great things. Now, I know I just said that she just performed 2 shows. And it seems like you can't get the show. You can't go watch the show anywhere else. Well, hold on there, Slick. In December, she's going to do another mini tour. New York at the Soho Playhouse. DC at the Union Stage. New York again at Soho Playhouse again. And Boston. So if this interview interests you in any way, go ahead, Buy tickets. Also, if you're in those vicinity of those areas, do it. You have nothing to lose. She's an enjoyable person, and there's a reason I sat down and talked to her because she's funny. She also has a podcast that is defunct, but you can probably go check it out still. It's called Non-Technical, where she sat down with people like Mark Cuban, Kara Swisher, and others to talk about everything but their jobs. And it's great because she was in that world. So she could have done it, but she chose not to. And then there's also those sketches I told you she shoots online with her friends. I don't know how to speak. Again, Alexis is a funny person. I enjoyed my conversation with her. If you want to check out everything she does, go to alexis.gay. I thought there would be more. Alexis.gay. That is the website. If you want to follow her and see these videos I'm talking about, follow her on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Twitter if you're still one of those people, at Yay Alexis Gay. She's great. And she's smart. That's cool. If you want to see a video version of this show, head to youtube.com/C+comedy. I have to stop doing this. I have to bring up GarageBand because I don't have this next piece of audio queued up to go. Head to youtube.com/C+comedy. We're going to see a video version of this show as well as video versions of the other podcasts. Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs podcast. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at C+Comedy. Me at Chad Black White. Subscribe to those other podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. And now get ready for this interview with Alexis Gay. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I know this is a quick turnaround. You got a show. You got a couple of shows to get
Love
ready
it.
for.
Yes, tonight and tomorrow night. How can you see me? Can you hear me? How do you feel about all that?
Oh, you look fantastic. The
Great.
room is great, nice and white, like you
Yes.
just moved in.
I'm staying at my friend's apartment right now, so I'm
Uh,
in their guest room, and I moved just all my suitcases to the other side.
well, I mean, no, you have to unpack those. We have to get into what clothes you're going to wear for the shows
Oh,
and
that's right.
how to get everything. So how is everything? What's the preparation like for these shows?
Things are great. The preparation for the shows at this point is uh, making sure I bring everything I need to the venue
Mhm.
and showing up to tech rehearsal on time. I'm in each city, it's a new venue, so it's a new tech person, it's a new rehearsal.
Yeah.
That's the part where I have the most, I have to be most focused because I'm like, okay, we got to show up, we got to become best friends, and then we have to make sure all the lighting is going to work and all the sound is going to work and everything is going to go perfectly, and then I can relax and enjoy performing.
Yeah, I was clicking through some of the pictures and videos you have on Twitter and Instagram, and I mean, it looks like a giant TED Talk. It looks like something, or a mobile TED Talk rather,
Yeah.
that you have to deploy in every city. I don't know how'd you even approach making something like that?
Well, it was honestly, the slides were by accident. They were not something I ever set out to be like, you know what the world needs? More slides, more slides. But my career, I spent 7 years working in the tech industry before going, ooh, what just happened? Oh, I got a phone call. Oh my God, I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
I spent 7 years working in the tech industry before I became a comedian.
Mhm.
And can you still see me and hear me?
I can.
Oops, sorry about that. Great. And we're recording, right? We're good to go.
Yes, we're all good to go.
Great, cool. Um, I spent 7 years in the tech industry, and so making slides felt very natural to me. But the origin story of having a visual component like that in my show is completely random. It's because I was doing a friend's show in New York where you have to make a PowerPoint presentation. It's called Next Slide, Please. It's produced by Kavner. It's really fun. Not everyone who does it is a comedian. Some of the presentations are from journalists. but they're all fun and funny and entertaining. It's meant to be light.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to do the show. I was really looking forward to it. 2 weeks before the show, I'm like, okay, time to figure out my slides, time to
Yeah.
figure out my little set. No ideas. I came up with 20 ideas. They were all so boring. Like every time I tried to write one of them, I was like, oh my God, so boring. But I forced myself to keep writing. I mean, I had to come up with something. And I was like, okay, you have to write for 10 minutes. So just suck it up, sit down, start writing. I start writing. And the only thing that was coming to mind was my concept for a solo show, which is not the
Mm.
same as putting together a 15-minute set. But I was like, whatever, I have to write something. And I thought, oh, what if I use this little 15-minute PowerPoint set as the first version of my solo show?
Yeah.
Like, what would the show, I mean, then it was just a concept. What could this concept look like is a 15-minute version? And then the slides felt so natural to me, I think in part because I spent so long in a business career that they stuck around
Wow.
totally by chance.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm glad that you were able to like use talents that you previously had and like truly make them work for you now because I think that as a comedian, as an entertainer, that makes you stand out because seeing that you do use slides, it makes me think of James Veitch. I think that's how you pronounce his
Hmm.
name, but he's a British comedian who
Mm.
has utilized on TED Talks and on Conan and all these different platforms
Yeah.
just like 20-30 minute sets involving slides and emails and everything, and it works for him. And for you, obviously, it works because you're selling out shows and you're touring touring a show around the world and everything. And what for you to become a comedian and get out of the business world,
Yeah.
what was that transition like for you? How did that decision come about? Because comedians, people in entertainment, they come from all walks of life, but you had
Yeah.
a steady, stable career, and now you're
Yes.
in this volatile world.
Well, I think it didn't feel like a huge decision, to be honest. And the reason for that, in retrospect, I think is twofold. One, I made the decision during peak chaos of the pandemic. I'm talking
Mm.
Q4 2020. I'm talking pre-vaccine. I'm talking we were still dealing with the election. Like the
Yeah.
world was in no one knew which way was up. People were living at home with their parents. People were bread, Wordle. Like it was just that. Remember that time?
Yeah.
And I literally feel like a chaos window opened
Mhm.
where everyone was doing crazy stuff all the time. And I thought, okay, well, I mean, if I moved in with my mom, that wouldn't be crazy. Lots of people are doing that. And hey, if I moved in with my mom, I wouldn't have to pay rent, which would means my expenses would be much lower, which would mean I could maybe make a bold move if I want. And once a friend of mine asked if I was considering doing it full time, which until she asked, I wasn't.
Mhm.
Being asked that question, I was like, oh, no, 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 I love my job. But it was like once someone asked, it was like the scroll was put on the table. And then
Yeah.
over a few months, I just watched it unfold. Because
Mhm.
each following conversation I had where someone was like, oh my God, I'm seeing your videos online or what's going on, I was like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And then it went to like, actually, yeah, I'm making a plan to see if I could do it. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I just resigned. It just evolved. So it never felt like this crazy, like, oh my God, I'm taking this giant leap. I felt like everything is upside down. No one's going to notice if I do something wild. And then, two, it didn't feel that wild after letting the decision come after a few months. And I'll add a third thing actually. I don't feel like my goals when I left my tech job to do comedy were to like make it as a comedian, like be a big famous comedian.
Yeah.
And I think that changes the stakes for me. I really just wanted to know how it would feel to have all my time under my own control. I wanted to see what I was capable of. That still motivates me. I'm
Right.
just like, oh, I want to see what I can do. And so I think for those reasons, it didn't feel like, oh no, I'm taking this big risk and I might fail because the only thing I'm trying to do is like experience it. So I'm
Right.
succeeding.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can see it because it feels like that's a very smart way to approach it because how many times have I gone online and seen somebody who's on TikTok or Instagram and they're just doing comedy because they want to be famous. They want to get
Mm,
a viral thing
hmm.
and it feels like that is not coming from I hate saying this word, an authentic place,
I know what you
but
mean.
for you it definitely is coming from that position. And I think that's a great way to look at it because,
Mm.
like I've always looked into getting my pilot's license just for the hell
Ah,
of it. I think that'd be very
oh,
fun. But that's a year and a half of, doing part-time like studying and
yes,
like going to these classes, and that's like 40
yeah,
hours or 20 or 30 hours a week. But if somebody was rich and they like could just take off 6 months of work,
yeah,
then they
yeah.
could get it in 6 months. And so I
Mm,
think that's your approach in that in the terms of entertainment person, and it's working out for you.
mm.
I mean, so far. But how have you approached putting videos on online and trying to make stuff that is short form and that enough people can go, I like this person enough to follow them. I follow them. Let me go see them live. Like,
Yes.
do you think that people see that short stuff and then go, I'm ready to sit down and watch her do 45 minutes to an hour worth of comedy?
Amazing question. Amazing question. Because interestingly, as I've been on tour, I've been really fortunate to chat with people after the show who literally say, I've been watching your videos for years,
Mm,
which wild. So
yeah,
I do think that to me, it's just a funnel. And again, that's my business background. You look at like the sales funnel or whatever, but
right,
people are exposed to my work initially because someone sends them a video. They're like, LOL, and then sends, the video. And maybe they follow me, maybe they don't, but then maybe they see another video a couple months later. And, oh, yeah, that's the girl. Maybe then they follow me.
right.
Then maybe there's a year of just every once in a while, they're like, huh. And then eventually it's like, oh, I'm doing a show. And they're like, oh, I'm interested. Let me learn more. And so I don't think that any one video is going to be good enough or be impactful enough to change to drive like a purchase decision. That would have
Mm,
to be a freaking killer short form sketch video to be
yeah,
like, oh man, this 90 seconds went so hard. I'm gonna buy a $25 ticket to a show. That'd be amazing. But I think it's more likely that over a long period of time, a year, several months, several years, I'm putting out enough stuff that people feel familiar enough with my perspective that they're like, oh, I've enjoyed seeing little windows into her perspective. I wonder what a longer form project might look like. And
yeah.
so I don't think about the videos as, oh, let me make sure that these are related to my show or these will drive people to my show. What I care about is making them funny and and from my perspective,
Hmm.
not just like as me as the character, but I mean like my perspective on the world. And then the bet that I'm placing is if I do that enough times, make things that are good and like are self-expressive, then people will be interested in what else I'm creating because it's all coming from that same point of view.
I like that approach. When you have these videos and when you're making them with your friend, I don't is his name Gabe?
Gabe Malika.
Yes. When you're making videos like this, do you plan them out? Because everything just seems so well written and well
Mm,
produced, and not in a way that's, obviously like these people are aiming for this. It all comes up naturally. So how
oh my
how do you
God,
all
that's like
plan
the
for this
best
type of stuff?
compliment. I'm gonna record that, play it over and over again.
You're very
Yeah,
welcome.
the sketches you're referring to, which is definitely where I've been putting my focus recently, are sketches I make with my friend and collaborator Gabe Malika, who's a comedian based in New York, great comedian. And we have been scripting short form sketches and then shooting them in a style shot by a videographer I work with a lot named Alex Modgill, also out of New York. And we shoot them in a style that feels as hyper real as possible.
Hmm.
But in my experience, the way to make things feel real for example, television, sometimes means cleaning up the rougher edges of reality.
Yeah.
And so our sketches, even though the dialogue, and it should feel real, it should feel like a conversation. And honestly, often the concepts come out of a conversation Gabe and I have had, and then we're like, oh, that's funny. But there's like edges to reality you have to kind of sand down in order to make them feel enjoyable to watch for a TV on a TV show or like a short form sketch and stuff. And so, we might talk over each other a little bit, but we're maybe not talking over each other as much as you and I might in a normal everyday conversation.
Yeah.
Or, we're standing in a way that like certainly looks natural. That's important, but we're would Gabe usually be sitting at my table? Like there's
Right.
little things like that where we
Yeah.
touch up reality just a little. But yeah, it's scripted and they're thought out and we co-write them, we co-act in them. I've been directing most of them. It's so fun. It's so
Yeah.
fun.
I'm glad you're having fun with that because it's, if you, especially if you're still doing your regular tech job, I'm
Hmm.
sure that having a creative part of your brain activate and then, going to do something for 8 hours that is
Yeah.
on the exact opposite might be a little bit mind numbing and you might be wanting for a little bit more. But again, since you are able to focus on all of this, it's just much easier and you feel great. You feel happier and more energized. Uh, as you're writing these smaller sketches and you're developing Unprofessional,
Hmm.
was it hard to balance between the both of those and switch voices because one of them is a show just about you
Right.
and the other one is I've got to worry about two other people who are, one of them is also a performer and the other
Hmm.
one is
Hmm.
helping to shoot this.
Yeah, the honest answer is yes, it is hard to balance projects that are so different in scale
Mm.
and format and have very different life cycles. I started working on Unprofessional in October of 2023 with that first 15-minute version. It's almost a year to the day,
Wow.
and now I'm on tour with it. So it's been like a 12-month effort. And as it should be, I mean, it's an hour, and I worked it at the Fringe, for the month of August and before bringing it to the US. And you have to make time to do that, even though it doesn't have the same sense of urgency to it. And it's something I really love about the Fringe Festival. And this is true of many fringes. Edinburgh Fringe is obviously big and special and it's
Right.
Scotland, but I just love the deadlines imposed by something like a festival or even just booking the theater.
Hmm.
You know, actually, that was advice I got I sat down for coffee with a comedian I really admire. And I was asking her this question. I was like, how do you get big stuff done when it feels like there's all these small things? And in my case, that's my sketches, that it feels like they need to keep going.
Hmm.
And her advice to me was literally, she was like, oh, just book the theater and invite people to the show, and then you'll get it done. And I was like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but you'll do it. And I was like, okay. And so Gabe and I actually booked the Soho Playhouse in December 2023 and then split the hour. And we're like, all right, we're doing the first 30-minute versions of our new shows. And it worked. I got the first 30 minutes. I mean, like, because otherwise, there's so many things I want to do. I find it challenging on a day-to-day basis to prioritize. So the answer is
Mm.
yes, it's extremely hard. And the way that I do it at all, and I feel like I fail at doing it a lot, but the way that I'm finding I'm at least getting some stuff done is by having accountability and deadlines that don't just rely on me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so smart. And that is a very analytical and tactful way of looking at it because, if imagine if nobody, if people showed up and you weren't ready and you just
Exactly.
had that 15 minutes and how stupid you would look on
Oh my
stage,
God. I would
just like
just
standing there.
never, I don't mind looking dumb on stage, but it should be for a good reason.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. This would be something that you planned and you wrote out. And
Yeah,
imagine if Gabe
absolutely.
was ready, you did he
Oh,
did his 30
oh,
minutes, and then you did
terrible.
15, and you're like, well, time for
Well,
questions,
that's it.
everybody.
Oh my God. Yeah, Q&A. Yeah, the earth would crack open and I would be swallowed into its core. I just can't imagine.
How was the Edinburgh Fringe Festival for you? I love seeing that people have gone there and they work, tooth and nail for these shows and they have to
Yes.
do like 20 or 30 or however many they do, and then they get a chance to go around and test out different foods and go
Yes.
see different
So
shows
fun.
themselves. So how was it for you?
I love the Fringe. I really love it. I brought a show in 2023 that was like a test balloon for myself. It was called Alexis Gay and Friends. I did 25 minutes every day and I had three different comedians open for me every day, which
Hmm.
meant I got to meet in total 72 different comedians who opened for me. And, people I then connected with and got to see their sets. Like every
Yeah.
day I'm watching three different sets that I chose. I just got to be comedy fairy Also, how good does it feel to give someone stage time instead of asking for stage time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Felt amazing to just be like, would you like 10 minutes? It was great. But okay, so I bring that up because 2023 was just pure fun. I was just having a blast. I'd wake up, I'd have a coffee, I would do my show. The stakes were zero. The stakes were so low. It was a pay what you want show. People didn't
Mhm.
even have to buy tickets, they could just come.
Yeah.
I got so much better at comedy, night and day. I mean, right, how many? I think it would probably take you between 1 and 2 years as a relatively new comedian to book 25 minute sets.
Yeah.
And I did it in a month. That's there isn't another opportunity for comedians like the Fringe for that specific reason. And then from a meeting people, meeting passionate, interesting comedians, it's there's so many of them
Yeah.
there. But 2023 was just like all fun, all making friends, having a good time. 2024, I was working my butt off. I still had an amazing time. It was still incredibly fulfilling, but it was not the like, woohoo, out till 3 in the morning, meeting up with British comedians. No, I was like, I am at work. I am on a 25-day work trip. I was sleeping 8 hours a night. I was making friends, but I just wasn't spending as much time like, tooling around having fun. And that was because this year was a much more serious effort. I had a
Right.
PR person, I had a promoter, I had a director, I had a producer. There was
Wow.
a big old poster with my face on it. All this stuff I didn't have in 2023. The stakes felt so much higher this year.
Yeah. Did you, so with that in mind and now having this whole team of people behind you, did you feel that pressure, the same type of pressure, but tenfold when you had to get that first 30 minutes for that December show?
It's, you know, when other people are involved, I'm always more, I know that more is riding on it, more is riding on me.
Hmm.
I don't really mind it. It doesn't feel worse. It just feels different. And honestly, the trade-off is really worth it because I do my best work on a team or leading a team. I was a manager in my tech life. My last 3 years, I managed a few teams and I loved being a manager. I felt really fulfilled by helping my team succeed. Like it always felt
Yeah.
better when my team won, like, when we hit our goals as a team, than it ever felt when I was an independent contributor bringing in deals myself. Like, that's not exciting to me to be like, oh, I closed a deal. Like, all right. But when our team would like hit our revenue target, it's like, hell yes, team. So the trade off of knowing, like, oh, I need to be really listening to my director and taking their feedback and making sure
Hmm.
I'm prepared. And, I need to make sure I'm doing everything I need for our producer. It's more pressure because other people's reputations are involved, other people's
Yeah.
time. But the trade off to me is that I get to have teammates. And it is so worth it to have that extra pressure to also know there's someone I can message and be like, LOL, this tech rehearsal is an active trash fire. I'm doing deep breathing on stage to stay calm. You know what I mean? Like it just
Yeah.
feels good to have someone else involved.
Yeah. Here's a tech story I heard this week.
Mm,
Meta, when they had their layoffs this week, Meta fired some people because they were making like $400,000, but they
I
were
saw
also
this.
spending their $25 vouchers on
Yeah,
like
on like toothpaste.
toiletries and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What did you think about that? I thought it was like one $25 voucher per day, but apparently they're getting paid $25 for every single meal, so $75 or
Hmm.
$20, and then they were saving it up and then buying groceries with it. I thought, hey, if you made $400,000, and I know it's Silicon Valley, but you made
Right.
$400,000, I could at least afford some toothpaste.
It's such an interesting it that was such an interesting piece to come out about that story because I there's two sides to it. Also Meta could have done something where like the money could only be spent at like certain places, like it's
Hmm.
not a credit. Basically I feel like if they really cared that much, they maybe should have done a little more
Yeah.
to make sure it could only be spent in that place. And then also I see the argument though that's like if you are being deceptive about that as an employee, are you maybe being deceptive about other things? Like,
Right.
are you maybe not working when you say you're working? And so I could maybe see an argument where it's like, oh, yes, it's small, but sometimes it is true in life. Some, have you ever heard like how you do anything is how you do everything?
Right. Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of see that. But then also I'm like, come on, Meta. Who cares?
You
Must
got
we?
the money.
Who cares? Just
Yeah.
that's such a big deal. And also to fire someone for that is a lot. That's pretty extreme. Maybe let them
Yeah.
know first, give them
Yeah.
another chance.
I mean, Zuckerberg even went to Porsche and then asked them to make a Porsche Cayenne SUV minivan for his wife, a one of a kind car. Like, who are you to be like, no, you can't do this?
Yeah, that's wow, that's next level. A Porsche minivan.
Yeah, it's
Thank God. Thank God finally someone does it. That's what we needed.
yeah, this Frankenstein's monster of a car. It's
Wow, I want to
insane to
see
me.
that car. Hmm.
But I also want to ask you about your podcast, non-technical. Uh,
Yeah.
you spoke to. I love Kara Swisher. I love Mark Cuban. Um, Talking to them, what was that? How did you approach those interviews? How did you want to like? Because you come from that world, so
Yeah.
you're obviously a smart cookie. I don't know. Not even- So you're smart enough to talk to them and have a
Sure,
conversation
sure.
and carry stuff like that. So what was it like having talking to them and about everything in that?
The conceit of my show was that I would interview influential people like Mark Cuban and Kara Swisher, but about everything except their resume.
Mhm.
And so in these conversations, instead of asking them how they built their businesses or what advice they'd give a young entrepreneur, I'd be like, Mark Cuban, do you believe in ghosts? And it was so fun because it meant that the goal of each episode was just to have a lot of fun. I felt most successful when after a recording, we'd end the recording and the guest would go, that was so fun. They would be like surprised almost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're so used to doing podcasts on the same topic, being asked the same questions, having to
Mhm.
sound smart, having to be insightful. And I wanted to give them 45 minutes. You just don't have to be all those things. Truly, you're just being yourself. You're just answering these questions about what you were like in high school and
Yeah.
how you take your coffee and stuff like that. And I did 106 episodes and I actually shut it down because I was going to the Fringe in 2023. And
Wow.
I felt that having this show that it was a creative concept
Hmm.
and you make a podcast, there's a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was starting to take up so much of my time. I worried I wasn't focused enough on stand up. And so that was a very tough decision to shut it down. But
Okay.
similarly, it also didn't feel that big by the time it got made. It felt very right. And I'm so glad I did. I mean, would I be doing Unprofessional right now? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. There are moments when, I think like I was in between last year I was let go from Cartoon Network and
Oh,
then
sorry.
that's fine, but it was a year ago. And then I joined
Did you buy
CNN.
toothpaste with your meal stipend?
They you know what? That I tried to buy Young Sheldon, but they
Yep.
wouldn't let me. They said
Damn.
that's Paramount and they
Yep.
kicked me out of there
Oh,
immediately.
I hate when that happens.
But they produced Young Sheldon, so that joke is somewhere in there. But I but I was laid off and then I went to work at CNN, but that was like 7 months later. So
Okay.
in that 7 months, I didn't have anything. And
Yeah.
there was a period of time where I stopped doing this,
Mm.
interviewing people. I stopped doing every other podcast because I've had this website for 11 years this past August. And
Congratulations. That is a
thank you.
huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I started on a whim and now here we are.
And
So,
here we are 11 years later.
yeah.
Wow.
But what came out of that was like I was so tired and just like because I just
Mm.
wasn't getting what I wanted out of any of this. And
Hmm.
then I came back and I feel like that time away really helped bolster what I want out of this. And
Yeah.
I'm putting in the same effort I was putting in before, but I'm
Mm.
doing things a little bit differently. And if for you to leave to stop doing the podcast and
Yeah.
to stop doing a mainline job, and to
Yeah.
jump into entertainment, I think
Mm.
that we kind of had that same similar idea of just like, if what if I just did this now and then we just do it and
Mm-hmm.
then that
Mm-hmm.
works out. Anyway, so all that to say is, is that time away can really put into perspective. Like if you're doing Unprofessional and you're making it this big event and you're having these
Mm-hmm.
shows and hopefully maybe you'll film it or maybe it becomes something else,
Yeah.
it can really inform those sketches that you do with Gabe,
Yeah.
and then that can inform the show, and then whatever is happening now can help make the next thing that much better because
Totally.
it's the grinding of on the whetstone, taking the knife, getting the whetstone and sharpening it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what really helps with the Edinburgh Fringe Festival last year. You doing all those shows in a month, having fun, but then this
Mm-hmm.
year doing all those shows in a month and it has to be a more real serious thing. It's going to pay off dividends. Now, I haven't seen Unprofessional, so
Right. But you're just,
it-
well, we're operating under the assumption it's good,
yeah,
which I really appreciate. Let's live in
yeah,
that space.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, with these two shows coming up tonight and tomorrow,
Yeah.
it's I expect big things. Don't have that in the back of your head, but like I'm saying, I expect
No, I
big
love it.
things.
I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
It's great. It reminds me a little bit of something that has been on my mind. It came from my first interview from non-technical, actually, with um, an entrepreneur named Ankur Nagpal, but he taught me about pronoia, which is the opposite of paranoia. And it's the idea that the universe is conspiring, but in your favor.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Isn't
I'm gonna
that
steal
nice?
that.
Yeah, please steal it.
Yeah. I'm gonna start attributing it to everything. People
Just,
talk about manifesting, so I'm gonna start doing that.
it's similar.
Yeah, I
It's
really
just
enjoy
an
it.
interesting way to reset your mind. I'm not saying I bounce through the day in a Zen meditative state, being like, oh,
Mhm.
the universe has got my back. It's just a different way to think about how things move.
Yeah, yeah. What I want to ask you this before I let you go. What are you
Sure.
gonna do? What's your pre-show? What's your post-show ritual? What's going on for you whenever you're getting ready for performance?
So on a day like today, when I have a tech rehearsal, I try to not do that much other stuff. So far I had a coffee and I had some breakfast. So that's really all I've done.
Wow.
Tech rehearsal, I'll be fully on. Tonight's interesting because my tech ends at 6, but my show doesn't start till 9. So I'm going to do something I don't usually do, which is that I'm going to go out to dinner.
Oh, okay. What are you gonna
Usually
have?
I don't know yet. Someone else is picking the restaurant, which is what a gift. Anytime anyone else picks the restaurant, that's a labor of love. Normally, I am teching the show, and then I will say there are a couple things I started doing at the Fringe that have stuck with me. One, so underrated. I do a 20-minute actors vocal warm up.
Wow. Okay. And is
Yeah.
that like not hollering, but just like
It's
warbling and
no,
everything?
there is some hollering. It is okay, so it's online. I It's called an actors warm up and it's from a speech coach. And I started doing it because 3 or 4 days into the Fringe, where you're doing the show every day, so you're speaking for an hour straight every day. My voice was like a little, it was like I wasn't losing it, but it just felt a little weak. And I was like,
Mhm.
we're 3 shows in. That's not great. So I just Googled, looked up on YouTube an actor's speech warm up, and I wanted something specifically for acting because, singing is a little different.
Yeah.
But this 20-minute vocal warm up, it has changed the way my voice feels on stage
Okay.
from just talking, which, sometimes you want your comedy to just sound like you're talking,
Yeah.
especially with something like stand up. But now when I do the warm up, it makes me feel more like my voice is like an instrument that I'm playing. I feel
Oh,
way more in control. And
okay.
so I make sure to do this 20-minute vocal warm up before all the shows now. So that's my big like thing I really have to do. And then other than that, I started doing this a couple shows ago where I remind myself that we're all here for the same thing, which is to have some fun.
Yeah.
Audience, me, we all have the same goal. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah. That's a beautiful sentiment because if people are paying, $20, $30 for a show, unless you're a complete asshole, it's
Right.
then we're all ready to just they want to
Right.
see you succeed. You want to
They're
succeed.
already on my side.
Yeah.
We all want this. We all want tonight to go the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope tonight and tomorrow are just the best
Me
shows in the world.
too. I hope they're great. I've never ever performed in Los Angeles.
Oh, it's a tough crowd.
I
I
know.
hear. You got this. Don't worry, Alexis.
All right, I got this. Thanks, Chad.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this.
So fun.
Have great shows. I don't know what the thing is to say, but have
I'll take it.
fantastic
I
shows.
take anything. I'm equal opportunity on that. Break legs, good show, good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah. You got this. You got this in a bag. You're very charming and very funny, and I assume very smart again. So
Love it. Thank you so much, Chad. Have a wonderful day. This has been
all right.
awesome.
Thanks. See ya.
Cheers.